Hi FlossTube Stitchers, Shelly here from Just Stitching Inc. in Strongsville, Ohio, which is in the northeast part of the state. And I'm going to start off with an apology for leaving you high and dry last week. I did not mean to skip a video. I did have plans. I had an itinerary, an agenda, if you will, for the video for Sunday, even though it was Father's Day. And as our family festivities went longer and longer into the day, we were getting kind of warm because we were outside. I got tired and frankly kind of out of the mood after a while to do a video. So I probably have a little more stitching to show you because of that, because there was an extra week in there. Okay. My vintage for you today, not actually vintage, it was from 2010, but it actually was a start and a finish last week. Let me explain. Alrighty, it's a spring bag tag kit from Prairie Moon, and what you got was the design to do that little sunflower and one of an assortment of these wood ornaments and a piece of perforated paper. So this was from 2010. Of course, they're not available anymore. And I had this one in my stash. I ran across it recently and I thought, why did I never stitch it? I'm going to show you the little ornament that came in my kit was Just Bee. And there's no bee on it. It's a flower and a dragonfly. And there's only one E, but I read it as Just Bee. And so I think I either picked this for myself because I liked that it was different from the ones on the front cover, or I picked it because the corner was chipped. And maybe that's why the last one didn't sell, or maybe I just took it for myself because I didn't think I should sell it. But it definitely came that way because the kit had never been opened and there was no little chip in the plastic bag. So I just decided, why am I shuffling through all these projects one more time? Why don't I just stitch this one? So last week I stitched it, and that's how it came out. Their instructions were to put a piece of wool or felt behind the perforated paper after trimming it, and then gluing it to the wood. And I haven't unearthed my old tiny silly cheap glue gun in probably 20 years. I have no idea where it is. I should probably go buy a really nice one. And I'm not much for glue. I prefer using double stick tape for whatever finishing I do. So I had mat board out for another project and I just cut a tiny piece of mat board and double stick taped it to the perforated paper project and then double sticked that whole thing to the wood ornament. So it's so cute. And I have a bee tree that is on the desk in our entryway. I had cleaned it off of the snowman ornaments and I started putting bee things on it. I did change the greens to maybe better match the ribbon that was already on it. And I think there was an extra purpley color that was in there. And I left that off and just put more of the brown color in the border instead of adding another color to the mix. So it's vintage kind of, but it was a recent finish. All right, then my whips, you know, the only two I've been working on this week or last week. I don't have the chart to show you, but it's almost done so you can tell what it is. This is Bent Creek's kit called Skep of Bees. And I started working on it last year sometime, and you know, I don't know why I didn't go back to it. It's silly because I could have finished it so quickly. So I worked maybe 2 more evenings on it, and it's a little tedious now because I'm trying to connect the white, connect the honeycomb, connect the gold instead of having a lot of tails being put under these tiny areas and making it lumpy. So I'm doing it little by little and then traveling my thread to the next area. And I guess I just got tired of doing it. So I put it down and started working on something else. But probably one more night and that'll be done. I also have to add the gold beads to her crown. But that should be done soon. But I came across this chart recently because I was gathering the free charts that I was going to send with my Atomic Ranch Fabrics Automatic. And I also give the free charts to my local customers, but I was figuring out what I needed to Xerox, and I came across this design. I had a bunch of these cards left over. It was a promotional card back in 2009, and at the time they had these 4 charts that were coming out in their automatic. 2 were spring and 2 were patriotic, and this is what they did. They gave you a promotional card where there was a design that helped advertise their new line. And I always wanted to do it. I'm a fan of eagles. I just like the fact that that it represents our nation, and it's probably the only bird that I've stitched more than once, besides maybe a tiny cardinal. I've done some eagle things, but I think the reason I never stitched it is because that blue and red is a little off for my patriotic decorating. And I had something else out recently that was using navy and red rocks and grits. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm just going to stitch this design using those colors because they were for another patriotic piece. And this is what I got done in one sitting. I just did the shield that's kind of in the middle. I did end up changing the grits to Anchor 2, the regular white, because the grits was looking a little beige. And this is 32 count platinum Lugana. So, and I'm only stitching with 1 strand, and that's why the white's not showing up quite as bright. So I changed the grits to Anchor 2. Not sure how I'm going to finish it, but it was just fun to work on something new, something I had wanted to do for a while, and I had this scrap of fabric that was just perfect for it. Okay, then I have some finishes for you. Let's see, I probably don't need that because it is finished. So I added the DMC 3823 confetti stitches to my A-round bees. Am I saying that right? It's around, but I don't know why I say A-round, but it's a dash round bees. And I just, every time I say it, I think it sounds wrong. But I'll hold it up a little bit closer so you can see what I mean by the confetti stitches. I do have these tails to wind under yet because even though it's a light color, I still am trying to wind it where you can't see the travel. So I should be done with that. Probably, you know, an hour of watching something on TV and winding those tails under. Then you don't need that either because this is done. Honeybee basket from Primrose. And I believe the last time I showed it to you, all I had to do was the white in the vase or basket or bowl or whatever it is. But today I discovered that I had never done the gray in the bee bodies. So I had to take a couple minutes and put those 6 stitches in to finish the bees. And I stuck with their color palette, except I changed the teal to color and cotton bobbins because I wanted a little bit of a variation. And I did stitch all the way across the row and back again instead of each one individually because I think it looks neater that way. And honestly, with this die lot, it gave enough of a variation, so I was quite pleased with the result. And it made perfect sense because the fabric is also from Color and Cotton. I used 28 count Cashel in white tea. So last Saturday, I showed my framer a couple of my almost finished bee things and we looked at frames. So I'm excited about that one. Okay, then another little Prairie Schooler card. This was from 2013. The model was done on 18 count black, so that is, I think I'm using 18 or 16. I didn't measure it. I stitched it so long ago, but I did everything except the crown and the flowers. And they're done in 502. And every time I looked at it, I'm like, but 502 is green. Like it's a green series. I know it's kind of a bluish green, but I kept thinking it wasn't gonna look good. Did I try another color? No. I think back then I wasn't changing colors as often as I feel comfortable doing now. And so I just put it aside because I did not think 502 would look good. So, and the funny thing is, yesterday or the day before, I was watching Jordan, the tattooed stitcher, and it was an older, I didn't comment. I may have to tell her about this sometime, but I didn't comment because it was an older video, but she was lamenting the same thing. This was done in 50 whatever, and it was supposed to be blue, and this is green. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm going through. Anyway, I got out the 502. I started stitching it, and you know what? It's fine. It looks kind of teal on the black, so I am fine with it. And I found a frame recently that was part of the Old Colonial new product from Nashville, and it might go in that. I don't know. I might make it into an ornament. They had it on the, I don't know if you noticed, but they had it on the front of a bee skep, and I do have some bee skeps. I have some extra ones that I'm actually not using right now, and some that are similar to each other. So I thought maybe I will go dig out my bigger bee skeps and see if something could use a decoration on the front. But in the meantime, this could be second choice or my backup plan. And this one, this was one Easter thing and 3 fairy tales. This was what this promotional card came out with. So anyway, I don't have any more of these, but they can be found in the mini card set F. So they do have a couple, they're not all still available, but F is, I checked it out, and you get, I think you get 8 cards for $9 or something like that. So I was sad that I didn't have any of these left, but it is still available for purchase. Okay, those were my, nope, one more. Okay, this is from Heartstring Samplery Festive Little Fobs Beekeeping Edition, and I think I've done all but one of the designs. I haven't finished them all yet, but I've been working on these. And I had this done last year, I think. So pretty. I love the back stitching on the wing, or the long stitching. And I had done it on just a scrap of fabric, and the original chart showed it as finished as a strawberry. And honestly, when I looked at my piece of fabric, I wasn't sure that it had enough width at the top to make it into a strawberry, because I wasn't thinking about that when I was stitching it. So one of these days I will do one of hers as a strawberry, because I think all of the festive fobs have a strawberry finish on them. But anyway, I had purchased this recently at Michael's. It's one of their little, you know, $4, $3.50, $4, $4.99, whatever frames, and they were on sale again. I actually already had a black and grayish brown one, but I couldn't remember what I had. It doesn't matter that I have 2, because one could be Halloween or something else. So anyway, just finished this real quickly today. I cut a piece of mat board and just wrapped it around and affixed it to the back with double stake tape. And the reason I didn't want to use foam core is because there's a ridge up there that the easel pops into, and so there wasn't a whole lot of extra space. So the mat board worked great. I was thinking of adding a bow and a button, or maybe just a button or something in the corner, but it's finished enough for now that I can try it in one of my bee groupings and see if that's necessary. So it's finished for now. Okay. No, that's not what I was supposed to show you. That was a finish. I got out of whack here. I got lots of bees buzzing around here. What I was supposed to show you was, okay. It's from the right book. Okay. I did this little bee skep. And the fabric I had in a 28 count bag, and there was a tag that said Dawn. there's no way that's 28, so I don't even think it's Dawn. I think I just had it in the wrong bag and that was a tag to something else. So it came out smaller than I thought it was going to be. And because it was on a darker color, I changed the green to like a shade or two darker so that it would show up. The bee skep itself was supposed to have two colors, but I thought the gold from Weeks Dye Works had enough color variation that I didn't need to do stripes in it. So I just did it the way it was. That was one of the last things I worked on. I had no idea how I was going to finish it. I just like using my little scraps of fabric. But when I was going through my box of possible, now there's a speck on the glass, possible finishing items, I found this. And it's just the right size. It would have to be cut exactly in a circle. Maybe I would use fusible interfacing on the back because there's no extra room. This glass is affixed to the frame and it can't be taken out, unlike the other one. And so I would have to really be sure of the finish because I would be cutting it so that it couldn't be undone. So, but would it bother me that the basket's brown and there's a bee on the frame? Like, I'm not sure, because if I had planned it, I might have done the basket in like gray and black, but brown made more sense for a basket, so I wasn't thinking of that at the time. Am I overthinking it? Have you met me? So anyway, it's a possibility. All right, then I stitched this little guy. And after I stitched it, I kind of wish that maybe I had moved the bees out further to make it more of a square. But I do have the rest of the fabric that if I wanted to use the other part of the fabric as the backing, I could stuff it, sew it together, and fringe it and make it into an ornament, and then it doesn't matter that it's not perfectly square. But when I was looking at the little frames today, that same green one, well, let me show you the one I decided against, because let me know what you think. I think it's too blue on blue on blue. I mean, it's kind of a good match. It looks good with the fabric, which is 32 count ice blue Belfast. But I'm not, is it too much blue? So then I put the green on, and I feel like the bees pop. I feel like you notice the gold and you notice the greenery. So I kind of think I like the green better. Now, would it bother me to have two bee designs done in the same green frame? No, because I have bee stuff in several different places in my house, and so I could just separate them. Or maybe they would look cute, you know, as something matching on a shelf. So it was supposed to have, this is the last thing I did today, was sew this button on. It was supposed to have your initial in the middle over one, but she had both of her initials and they were staggered, and it's an odd number. I couldn't figure it out. It was like an odd number of strands, and I wasn't sure if my initials were, I don't know, I wasn't sure they were going to fit. I didn't like them staggered. I felt like they were really squished in there, and I'm not a fan of I don't need to put my initials on everything. So today I found that little olive green button, and I thought that was perfect. And I have a few more, so if I did it as an ornament, I could almost, if I had 4 more, I could put them on the 4 corners. That would be cute. So the wheels are turning. Okay, so those were my finishes. Now I'm supposed to show you my fully finishes. So this I had ready for last week. This is Bent Creek from their series Plus White. So this is green plus white for St. Patrick's Day. And the reason I kept this chart for myself was because it was missing the button, and I didn't think that was worth complaining about. So I don't really do a whole lot for St. Patrick's Day, but my brother's name is Patrick. He always thought he should get that day off of school. So I do a few things, and I think this whole series is cute. So this is one of the tuck pillows from the old Colonial Trunk Show, and I was trying to use as many of them as I could. So I think that looks pretty good in it. And then because it was missing the button, I thought I'd add a little bit of bling, and so I put some buttons on a safety pin at the top, and in order for them to kind of stay so that you could see the different colors, I put clear Mill Hill beads in between the buttons. So anyway, that turned out really cute. And I usually do put a layer of thermolam under here, but we're going to talk about that again in a minute. Okay, then the second one I did was also from that Heartstring Samplery Festive Fobs Beekeeping edition. I had stitched this last year, I think, and never decided how I was going to finish it. I thought, well, maybe I'll wait till I stitch all of the, I think there's 9 designs on that chart. Maybe I'll stitch all of them and then decide what to do with them. But when this pillow came in and it had the little polka dots, I thought it looked like the confetti stitching, and it was the right color blue. I didn't have to change that because that was already stitched. So I thought that was perfect. The pillow already had the ribbon on it, and I had that little charm and just added a couple more yellow buttons and some gold beads and add some bling to the top of that, so this can hang on my bee tree. So those were the 2 finishes that I was all set to show you last week, but I have a couple more. All right, I'm going to show you these 2 together. They're also from the same beekeeping book. They're also in Tiny Tuck Pillows from Old Colonial. This one's a little bit bigger than this one. These 2 pots are exactly the same, and it's kind of a similar design with the bee over the flower. So I wanted to make them look a little bit different, so I did, it's basically the same coloring, but I did 2 strands over 32 Vintage Sahara for this one, and I did 1 strand on the same fabric for this one, so that it looks a little more delicate. And then I think, was the flower supposed to be blue? No, the flower I think was supposed to be red, and I wanted to do blue so that it went with a few of the other things I was stitching. And I think I changed the green so it went with this pillow, and I used the same green for that. And I changed the pink on this to match the flower on the fabric. I love that Vintage Sahara. And that's just one of the solid, like, stamped designs from Zweigart, so it's not that expensive. It's not nearly as expensive as some of the overdyed. So I love that series, and I love this yellow. It's one of my favorite colors. So for this one, I thought there was a little more space than I thought there would be, so I just added a stack of buttons, and I put it on with one of the Jabco pins. This one, the yellow flower, happened to come from number 444, so those are the other 2 that I have for the future to use on other projects. All right, so those were my other fully finishes. This one I had listed for last week to show you as a fully finish, but I didn't do it. I had doubts, and so I didn't do it. So it's from the Americana edition, and I did the eagle, and I thought it was gonna fit. And are you tired of seeing the tuck pillows? I thought it was gonna fit in here. It was a little more square, so I added a border at the bottom. But in the long run, I'm just not thinking that the color matches, so I decided against it. There's a little bit of space to the side of the eagle's head that is supposed to have either the year or the initial, and I thought it looked a little empty, so I also stacked some beads, this time on a gold safety pin, and I was going to tuck those in the corner, but I stitched the blue in the flower and the border that I added at the bottom, which I just I modified it from something else on the chart. I did that in Americana and realized when I watched my video from last year to refresh my memory that I was not stitching the blue in Americana that she called for because I thought it was too bright. I was stitching with navy, and I forgot, and I just stitched this with the wrong color. So I think it looks good on the fabric, and I think the fabric looks good in the pillow. There's something about that I just don't think works. Again, am I overthinking it? Probably. but in person, the color looks a little off to me. So I didn't fully finish it, which would, I mean, if I had trimmed it to fit this, I could have still finished it some other way, but I didn't have any other rectangular pillows to use as a second choice. So probably the easiest thing to do is just to remove the blue stitching and put in a blue that matches this exactly. And then I can go ahead and have that finish exactly as I planned. Okay, so that was my stitching, a little out of order. This is the second time I've done this video, and I screwed up the first time too, but I screwed up in different places, so it's all good. All right, I got through all of those. Now for the new shop models, they're both nautical. They have nothing to do with bees, and they're both by my framer, Bonnie. So the first one was a chart that she found that she had me order for her. The Salty Stitcher Designs, Nautical Snowflake, which they finished in a hoop. And she did hers on a very pale kind of turquoisey. What do you call a pale turquoise? Anyway, and I don't remember the thread she said she used. I've had this for a couple weeks, and I was waiting for the right opportunity to show it, and then she brought me another summer nautical design, so I decided to show these today. And this is a new line of frames that she has. So I think that's really cute. And the second one was, I had talked about this before, that she was doing the Flossabilities Nautical. Theirs was in kind of a warm cream and a blue, and she did hers in a completely different colorway. She is using 36 Arpeggio from Grace Notes Fabrics. That was from my trunk show last fall. And the thread is the Gentle Art Coral Reef. And the frame looks a little more turquoisey in person. It's looking a little dull green here, but it looks really pretty in person. But, you know, she loves all the aquas and teals. So, yeah, that's really different. And we're planning on doing these designs on purpose, a completely different with a completely different color palette than what the original designers used, just so we give people other ideas. Okay, so that's all the stitching. And then these are the new things that we got in the shop. This was the Belle Soie automatic for this month, Biscotti, Mud Pie, and Teddy Bear. And then Hands-On Design had part 2 from her series, The Craft Room. I was stitching. I was stitching before it was cool. And That's a Wrap is the second one in her Patriotic series. Thread, White and Blue. One of these days I'm gonna do one of those mattress pin cushions. They intrigue me. And Toes in the Sand. And Bonnie is probably stitching this as we speak, because I know she picked out her fabric for this. All right, then Heart and Hand came out with the requested second frill to her Nativity Tiny Town, the Shepherds. And Doodles, Red, White, and Blue. And Sunny Day, which comes with the sunflower buttons from the Bee Company. Then our other automatic was from Primrose Cottage, and they had Fruit Salad Quaker, and then what looks like a new line to me that will hopefully have other designs as well. It's called Garden Variety, and they have cherries, lemons, limes, and watermelon. And then their big chart this time was Seasonal Samplings Summer, which is the third in the series. This is my giveaway this week. If you just tell me what you like best about summer or what fun thing you're doing this summer, I will put your name in the drawing for next time. And then last week's winner is Angela West, and she gets her choice of any of the Jan Hicks samplings of lace, which are the smalls, or seasons in lace, which are the bigger samplers. And I've already reached out to her. All right, I got through this one in one take with only a few mistakes. So I'm happy about that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.